guys, I'm Laura Vitale. Just keeping my eye out here on my flame. On this episode of Laura in the Kitchen, I want to share with you how to make Zuppa Toscana, which has been, I think, the most requested soup in history of Laura in the Kitchen, requested by you. So we're going to make that today. It's easy and it's simple. It's absolutely delicious. And it doesn't really require a lot of crazy ingredients, which is what makes this, so good and exciting. What I'm going to work on is the soup, obviously. What I've got here is a large soup pot, a little bit of oil, and some bacon that I've chopped. Now, you want the bacon to render some of its fat, and the best way to do that is to start with a cold pan, which is why it's not sizzling. But that's good because cold will release more fat. So, while that's happening, let me walk you through what you need at this stage. You'll need your usual suspects: onion, celery, carrot, garlic for your soup. You need Italian sausage, the casing removed. You'll need some potatoes. I like starchy potatoes, so like a russet Idaho potato. And what I like to do is I like to slice my potatoes. You peel and you slice. You can dice, it's fine. You also need olive oil. You'll need some chicken stock. You'll need a little bit of flour, some Italian seasoning, heavy cream, kale, Parmigiano Reggiano, all the good suspects of a good, creamy, Italian-inspired soup. So, what I'm going to be working on now is just making sure that my bacon renders out some of its fat, but it doesn't have to be super crispy because we're actually going to throw it back in the pot later anyway. I just want it to crisp up around the edges, and when that's done, I'm going to take it out, and then we'll proceed. Looks good. You can see it's lightly starting to crisp up. We don't need it to be crispy because it's going to go back into the soup anyway, but I want to show you how much fat this bacon has rendered, and it's too much for my liking, so I'm too short for big pots, you know that? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my bacon all out of here, okay, and then I'm going to discard most of this fat. You can keep it in the fridge if you want, if you cook with bacon fat, because it's got a lot of good flavor and it'll solidify. You can just use a spoonful here and there, but for right now, oh, I need a step stool like my Nonna has because I can't reach. But for right now, we just don't need all of it because it's quite a bit. So, get me a mopping, and I'm just gonna look how much there is. I just don't need all of that because we're also gonna be adding sausage, and I want olive oil. I don't want a lot of bacon fat running around in there. So at this point, I'm gonna add my Italian sausage. No need to add any more fat because you have a little bit left in there, and I'm going to add some, like I said, some olive oil when we go ahead and cook up the veggies anyway. And I'm just going to cook my sausage and break it up as much as possible until it's pretty much fully cooked through. Removing the sausage. Get that out of there. Alright, you can see there's lots of really lovely bits at the bottom of the pan. You don't want to lose any of that. Don't worry about my spatula, by the way. It is heat proof. You just don't want to ruin the bottom of my pans, Now at this point, I do want to add a little bit more olive oil because there's not too much fat that's rendered, but I want plenty of good fat to saute my veggies in. So add that right in there. And I'm also going to add just a small pinch of salt because I want to draw out any moisture from the veggies. And I'm going to cook these on medium heat until they become soft, develop a little bit of color. Just the whole house is going to smell so fantastic when this cooks. It's truly amazing. And would you believe me if I told you I never had Zuppa Toscana before? Not until a couple weeks ago. I was like, okay, fine, I'll be the guinea pig because everybody wants it. And it's truly very delicious. Now, I think the homemade version is 10 times better, but hey, who am I to say? Make it for yourself and then you'll figure it out. All right, I'm just going to let these saute for a bit and then I'll bring you in for the next step. These are looking truly fantastic. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of flour. The reason why I'm adding flour is because I want the broth to be a little bit thicker. So I've tried making this recipe with and without adding the flour, and both are equally delicious, but I think that when you add a little bit of flour, you just get a better consistency in the soup. It's not so thin and watery. But if you want to keep this like low carb and you want to keep this like maybe Whole30 or paleo friendly, don't use the flour, and then instead of using heavy cream, just use a little bit of coconut milk and it would be delicious. I've tried it that way and it's fantastic, but I want like the full thing. You know what I mean? Me, go big or go home. And I also want you to see how beautiful these veggies look and how when you take the time to develop flavors, you get something truly magical in your dishes. Like this didn't cost me any extra money. It just cost me a few extra minutes, you know, but it does make a really big difference, and it's going to make a huge difference in the finished product. So keep that in mind. A little bit of flour, like 3 tablespoons is all you need for this, and it makes a huge difference. I know, but it's fantastic. It also makes a huge pot of soup, so it's not like you're gonna chow it all down by yourself. And you just want to mix it all in so that you no longer see any raw flour. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add in my stock, which is just water with, I use powder bouillon or like chicken broth paste, you know. I'm gonna also add a little bit more off camera because I don't feel like going back to the sink right now. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to add my Italian seasoning, really, really important, and my potatoes. And then this is going to just come to a boil and simmer over about medium to medium-low heat until the potatoes are really tender. I'm going to let that happen with a lid on. I'm going to go get a little bit more water and then just let it simmer, and I'll show you the next step. All right, a little bit more water. And before I forget, you gotta put the sausage and the bacon back in. Now it can come to a boil and simmer for a bit. So let that happen, put the lid on, and I'm gonna clean up. This is looking fantastic. I'm just going to increase the heat. I took the lid off. Now I'm gonna go ahead and add a bunch of kale. It's literally one bunch of Tuscan, also known as Italian, also known as lacinado, also known as dinosaur kale. You could use curly kale too if you wanted to, but I just personally think that that's best. This is delicious. It does not need any additional salt, so I'm gonna go ahead and add my kale along with some heavy cream, and I'm going to let this cook for a bit as well because the kale needs to soften quite a bit. It should be like really, really tender, so that's going to take another like 10-ish minutes. I'm going to do that with the lid off, and then that's pretty much it. And then we add some parm and we serve, and that's it. Parmesan cheese. I'm going to just turn this off, and that is perfection. When you serve this to the table, lots of freshly ground black pepper, additional parm on top if you so choose, but this is just phenomenal. I just really wish you could smell it because it's just, I'm gonna take a little taste test because we're serving the rest at dinner. With some garlic bread because it's me. That's why. Hot dog. Listen. The Zuppa Toscana you get out ain't got nothing on this, okay? It's delicious. It's so comforting. Perfectly balanced. You know exactly the quality of ingredients that went into it, which is really important when you are cooking from home, when you're cooking at home. And it's just fantastic. And remember, if you want to keep this low carb friendly, do not add the flour and you are in business. It just makes everybody happy. Go to laurainthekitchen.com for the written recipe. I gotta get that piece of kale. It's fighting me though. I hope that you have enjoyed spending time with me. Come hang out with me on Instagram and share your photos of the food that you recreate, and I will see you next time.